Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and the topic we're going to work on today is there are 3 incredible insights about marriage you should know. You're not hearing these anywhere else. Why? Why not? Well, I used to be a divorce mediator. It wasn't until 2001 when a couple asked me to help them save their marriage that I personally discovered marriage and what it's about. Before that, I believed in divorce. I thought things aren't working out, move on. In fact, at that time, I was divorced too. Not anymore, but at that time I was. So most of us are really misled about what marriage is. Well, maybe I shouldn't go that far. The truth of the matter is, we have no idea. Nobody informs us. These days people are pushing premarital education, but really not enough. It should be a course that everyone has to take before they get married. But unfortunately, even those courses are thin when it comes to learning about what marriage is all about. So let's get right into this. Number 1, and this is an incredible insight about marriage. Marriage is nearly unbreakable. Can you imagine? Here you are, you're probably struggling with your marriage, or you wouldn't be searching these topics, and I'm telling you marriage is nearly unbreakable. How does that work? I'll tell you. I'm glad you asked. You see, marriage is designed. It didn't just happen. When I was a little kid and I heard about people getting married and all that, I used to think, well, maybe it happened that because in those days, the balance between men and women was non-existent. Men were in charge. And I thought, well, maybe a man had a slave and he married her because he wanted to uplift her somehow. I had no idea. And maybe when you were a kid, you had no idea either how it worked. And even today, people get married. It's a next step. They don't get married because, well, I've really thought about it and I want to be married. So this was the first question that I asked. I asked myself when I was going to help this first couple, why do people want to get married? And remember, in my day, shacking up was no problem. And it is today too. Most people these days, they live together before they get married, if they're going to get married. People usually get married when they're going to have children, but living together is enough. And so why do people get married? And it wasn't an easy question to ask. It's a harder question to answer. But I found the universal answer. The universal answer is that we want to be happy. Human beings, all of us, men and women, have a craving for happiness. And I thought, okay, that's a good answer. We want to be happy. It's true. It's universally true. But what makes everybody happy? And the answer is more simple than you can imagine. When I started to ask people, why did you get married to your husband? Why did you get married to your wife? The answer was always the same. I found the right one and I fell in love. I got married for love. Don't we get married for love? So how does this tie back to marriage being unbreakable? Well, it's actually, if you think about it, more unreasonable that it would be considered breakable, because love, as you know, surpasses all of the emotions that we have in our mind, all of our positives and negatives. Love transcends everything. And so when we marry for love, and you have to understand that we do marry for love, but we forget. Love is unbreakable. Love is universally perfect. Love is one of the greatest gifts given to us. We don't know where it comes from. We know it when we feel it. And I'm not talking about the love up here. Psychological love, which is just an increased form of satisfaction or gratification. I'm talking about that love that comes to us spontaneously, like a thief in the night. It's perfect. And so what makes marriage unbreakable, and here's the catch, when you're living your marriage according to the principles of marriage, the correct principles of marriage, it's nearly unbreakable. Because love is completely unbreakable. But what happens to us is we veer away. We start getting into things in our marriage that are more material, more psychological. The day-to-day moves in on that love, and we forget why we got married. Literally, we forget why we got married. And that shows itself in our thinking, in our words, and in our deeds. And there's the catch. Now, speaking of the catch, and this is not to put down Western psychology, because Western psychology has its place, but not so much in marriage. If, in fact, you're having difficulties in your marriage, the normal thing that people do is they look for marriage counseling, don't they? I went through that. Now, when I went through that, it was after almost 20 years of marriage, and we went to marriage counseling, and this was in San Diego, California, sort of the heart of the beast. And so we had a choice. We had many therapists to choose from, the best in the United States. None of them helped our marriage. The last one killed our marriage, to be quite honest. And I'm not putting her down, but I'm going to tell you why. And this is the insight that you need to keep in mind. There is a commonly held theory about fixing a marriage that says you need to discuss your problems and work through them. Kind of makes sense on paper. Well, we have so many problems, we should start working on them. We should talk about them. We should tell each other what we like and what we don't like that each other is doing. We should start speaking to each other candidly about what we like and don't like about each other so we can resolve our differences. It sounds good, even as I stand here saying that, but it isn't. Why not? Well, let's go back to the number one reason why we get married, to be happy. So I'm going to ask you plainly, is getting your flaws pointed out by your spouse going to make you happy? The answer is no. It's a rhetorical question. If someone's telling you what's wrong with you, your mind is going to override and put a shadow over that love. Your mind is created for a completely different reason than for expounding, expanding, or experiencing love. Your mind is a calculator. It's a computer. It doesn't know about love. It can feel the effects of love somewhat, but it's not what we're seeking. What we seek, what we crave, is the happiness brought about by love. When you start talking about each other's flaws, when you communicate with one another, well, you should do this, no, you should do that, well, you do this, and that's why I do that. What I did was I just illustrated what happens, in a very mild way, by the way, that when you start talking about each other's flaws, both of you will get defensive, no matter how much you try to be open-minded and to receive and hear. It's not possible. It just simply isn't. We are not able to live according to our partner's needs and desires, but we are able to learn to love each other unconditionally. And so that's where the focus has to be when it comes to marriage fixing. We need to put all of our attention on increasing the devotion, caring, and love we have for each other. Not as a pact, not as a deal, not as a business deal. Marriage is not a business, but individually. In other words, let me put it more succinctly. You're watching this video. Your wife or your husband, they're not watching it with you. Hey, maybe rare. And so this is up to you to start building that bridge of love again, because it has been corrupted by the worldly ideas, the mental overlays that we put on each other. It undermines our marriage. So don't work on your problems. I know that sounds insane because of everything that we hear, but believe me, working on your problems is what it is insane, because it doesn't do good. All it does is it stirs the pot. It makes both of you uncomfortable. The one who's pointing out the other's flaws then is not looking at their own. They're not saying, well, what can I do to build my marriage? Well, I can help you with that. I've written 2 books. I wrote Lessons for a Happy Marriage. It was the first book that I wrote, and it has saved thousands of marriages through the years. And it's simple. It's easy to digest, easy to read. You'll have one aha moment after another. And then when it was time for me to start training marriage counselors in San Diego County and later elsewhere, I wrote another book called Breaking the Cycle, which goes into things a little bit deeper for people who are more like I am, who want to know the layers of what's going on. That became very important, became a good book. It was my introduction, in fact, to the marriage counselors who I first trained. In my first batch, there were about 13 of them, and they were the best of San Diego, including some PhDs, including some teachers of psychology. And then, later on, we put together an online course for those of you who really need the structure and the step-by-step process of pulling your marriage out of the swamp as you learn about marriage so that you could have an amazing marriage. Because it's not enough, in my opinion, to save your marriage. What's critical is for you to have an amazing marriage. Now, where am I coming from with that? Well, one of the things that I learned, this is a little bit of an aside on this topic, but I think it's an important one. One of the things that I learned as I started doing research was that the children of broken homes pay dearly for their parents' divorce. You might say they take it on even more than the parents. And so my focus became saving the children. And I know that, yeah, you could get them therapy and all this, but the truth of the matter is, why should you come up with remedies for a disease, which is the children getting clobbered, when all you have to do is help the parents stay together? So that became my focus. And so my philosophy was, I can save children by saving marriages. And that's pretty much why I did the Marriage Foundation, for that purpose. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 kind of ties all of this together. And that is this. When you know how to be married, okay? In other words, when you get the education that I provide in my books or in these videos or in my articles or in the online course, it's inevitable that you will be not just happy, but off the charts happy. You will literally be floating with joy. Why? Going all the way back to the beginning of the design of marriage, I consider it a gift from God. He wants us to be happy. Here's how I see it. And you don't have to see it this way. It doesn't make any difference. I don't tell you you have to follow God or follow this religion or anything like that. But there is a math to everything in marriage. It has a mechanical component that is ultra reliable. So going back to God, and this is my philosophy, but I don't push it on you. God loves us. He's our Father. That's how I see it. God is my Father. I have children. Maybe you have children. And if you do, you know that your love for your children comes ahead of everything. You want them to be successful. You want them to be happy. Well, God created everything. He knows exactly what He's doing. Now, you don't do it for your kids, and God doesn't do it for us. But you give your kids the tools and direction. And I believe that marriage is all about that. He wants us to learn how to love the way He loves us. Does that make sense? Why? Because you know from your own experience, when you love openly and fully, and especially unconditionally, which is something we strive for, it doesn't just come to us automatically, we're happier than at any other time, right? So my thinking is God created marriage so we could learn how to love that way and experience that love all the time. And because we've been mistaught about love, we've been mistaught thinking that it is an abstract idea, a chemical in the brain. Well, it's not. It's a very spiritual reality, this love business. And when we learn how to exist within love by giving love, we feel a joy that is indescribable. And I think our Father who art in heaven, He wants us to have that experience. And so, like anything else, we have to learn how to do what we're going to set out to do. If you get a job, you have to learn everything about that job. If you drive a car, you have to learn about driving a car. You have to learn the rules of the road. And we do this with everything in life except marriage. How crazy is that? And marriage is complex. It's simple, but it's simple like a computer is simple. I can't take apart a computer and know what's going on, but a computer engineer, an IT engineer, knows exactly what's going on. It's their business to learn computers, so they learn computers. A mechanic might be gibberish to us, all the technical things about a car engine or the brakes and all of that, but to a mechanic, they know exactly what's going on. You're living your marriage. You should know exactly what's going on. And just like a computer, when you know what's going on, you get the most out of it. Driving, when you know about cars and the rules of the road, you get exactly what you want out of it. A car is built to take you from point A to point B in comfort with a great sound system. Marriage is to get you to the point of experiencing love, and that's what it's all about. I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. I hope you benefited from this. I hope you leave a comment, share the video. I hope you're a subscriber. If not, become one. All blessings to you, and take care.